Hello everyone, this is Dr. Geri Puleo and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar where I'm asking you, are you at risk for burnout? How to understand the top 6 high-risk personalities. These 6 personalities tend to leave you more susceptible to burning out at work. Now, some of them may not surprise you at all. Some of them might shock you. And some of them might be like a mirror to how you handle your duties at work. The first high-risk personality for burnout is the overachiever. Now, I'm sure many of you are not surprised by that, but what exactly constitutes an overachiever personality? Well, overachievers tend to push too long and push too hard in trying to get their duties and responsibilities accomplished. In other words, they're the ones who come into work at 5 o'clock in the morning, work through lunch, never ask for help, and go home at 9 o'clock at night. But then they're surprised why they're tired, exhausted, cranky, irritable, and burned out. While really pushing hard towards a goal is important, and I'm a big believer in the role of tenacity in goal achievement, by taking it to the extreme, overachievers tend to be unrealistic. In other words, they set these goals for themselves that they could not possibly meet. They give themselves too little time, insufficient resources, and they aspire to a standard that just cannot be met given the time and resource limitations. The second at-risk personality is the perfectionist. Now, a perfectionist is very closely related to the overachiever. Perfectionists have very rigid standards of excellence. And if you look at this little cartoon graphic that asks, come on, it took you 12 days to clean a mirror. Most people could get the mirror cleaned in a matter of a few minutes, but perfectionists tend to overthink and they have a standard that is just unrealistic given the task. These standards become self-defeating because they keep reminding themselves of what should have been done or could have been done. To the perfectionist, nothing is ever good enough. Perfectionists tend to burn out because the standards that they have, and I'm a big believer also in high standards of excellence, but the standards that perfectionists use to determine whether they succeeded or in their mind failed, because it's a black and white world to them, end up defeating them because they are never satisfied. That lack of satisfaction leads to frustration, anger, eventually they become apathetic, and then they burned out. Now, the third type of at-risk personality for burnout is the people pleaser. Now, people pleasers are normally liked by others because people pleasers will do anything to make sure that the people around them are happy. In other words, they will agree to do things that they know they really can't do or shouldn't do, but they don't want to displease anyone. Well, not surprisingly, they're frustrated and they harbor unexpressed frustration. So that people pleaser who is always so nice will tend to explode in angry outbursts because they've never expressed the frustration that they felt by always doing what other people want and expect of them without taking any consideration of what it is that they want and expect. People pleasers tend to have low levels of self-confidence, particularly in their abilities to do things, to judge what is the best thing, and then to move forward. Because they're so frustrated, people pleasers are on the very slippery slope that goes from frustration to anger to apathy and then burnout. Now, the fourth high risk personality for burnout is the denier. And I know it's a bad joke, but denial is not a river in Egypt. Now, according to this cartoon, the little boy is saying, it's not denial. I'm just very selective about the reality I accept. And therein lies the problem with the denier. They tend to sugarcoat things. They tend to hide behind humor. But the reality is that they are denying what is going on. It could be that they're denying their ability to get things done. They might be denying their need for help. They may be denying that things are much worse than they've been sugarcoating it to be. The problem here is that the greater the level of denial that you have about a situation, particularly in the workplace, the greater your level of anxiety. And when you become anxious, that leads to frustration. You're going to get angry. Eventually, you'll get apathetic. And if you're a denier and you're in the apathetic stage of burnout, you're going to deny that you're apathetic, that you're going to say that you're doing things the way you were before. But all of these are preludes to burnout. The fifth high risk personality for burnout is the loner. And where the girl in this cartoon looks like she's happy, loners usually aren't happy. They have no support system around them. It may be that they have no support system at work because the job that they have is very autonomous. But it could also be that they don't know how to reach out to other people. It could be that they're uncomfortable in social situations. A loner may be a shy, introverted person, but not all introverts lack a support system. Loners tend to choose to do things all by themselves. And as a result, they tend to avoid asking for help from others. And when help is offered, loners have a very tough time accepting that help. As a result, the pressures they put on themselves are so extreme that they become frustrated, angry, and burned out. Loners are often not thought of to be susceptible to burnout, like the high achiever perfectionist. But a loner might even be more susceptible to burnout because they are refusing the help, aid, and support of other people. The sixth and final at-risk personality for burnout is the single tasker. The single tasker has blinders on, and they tend to ignore anything that is not related to the single goal that they have in mind. In other words, they can't see the big picture. They can't see the forest for the trees. The problem with being a single tasker is that you miss an awful lot of things that can impact whether or not you perform well in your particular job. The single tasker, as a result, tends to lack any breadth of experience or insights. They only know their particular piece of the puzzle. In other words, a single tasker who is a sales rep has no concern or consideration or understanding of the manufacturing process that's necessary to build the products that they just sold. Single taskers tend to get blindsided, and single taskers are also closely related to the deniers in terms of at-risk personalities. So of all these personality types that are at high risk for burnout, whether you're an overachiever, a perfectionist, a people pleaser, a denier, a loner, or the single tasker, ignoring these traits in your personalities is done at high risk, because these are the traits that, when done excessively and become a habit in terms of how you approach work, these are the traits that will make you much more susceptible to burnout, regardless of the work situation that you are in.